Welcome back. Now, ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula has described the newly formed political party A Change Starts Now as a project of counter-revolution to destabilise the ANC. And this follows former FirstRand Chairperson and struggle activist Roger Jardine launching his new political platform in Riverlea, south of Johannesburg, yesterday. Jardine said that the movement is a journey of political rehabilitation and is about a change of political power in 2024. Now, he has also confirmed that they are finalizing an approach to contest the 2024 election and intend to form the next government. So to find out more about the Change Starts Now political movement, we are joined by its leader, Roger Jardine. Roger, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you for having me.
So firstly, Roger, for those who may not know who you are and what the political movement that you have established is about, take us on that journey with you about how you got here and why you decided to enter the political fray.
Well, thank you very much. I come from a family with very deep political roots. My grandmother was an activist in the 50s in the trade union movement. And so I grew up in a home that was always alive to what was happening around us. And of course, my late father, Bill Jardine, was a key influence in my life. I've made career choices along the way. And for almost the last 25 years, I've been in the private sector. But like all South Africans, I've watched as our country's declined over the past decade in particular. And I came to the conclusion after many discussions with family, friends, associates, what we are facing in South Africa fundamentally is a political problem. You know, we do all the good things that we do. South Africans are very giving. Most people that I know are involved in one way or the other in their communities, whether it's through helping children to go to school, painting schools, feeding schemes, etc. But our politics is broken. And if we don't fix the politics, there's no way out of this decline. And so I decided that I should raise my hand to step forward. Many of us sit on WhatsApp chat groups and around dinner tables, and we literally cry into our soup, those of us who can have soup, because we know there's a very serious problem of starvation in the country. And you know, we'd like to be part of the solution. So, and it's not me alone. You know, I've assembled a team of really strong and great South Africans who want to do good and call on other South Africans to join us. We need to rally together now for the future. And that's really what we're trying to do. And so I've left the corporate world, and I'm feeling quite filled with purpose about what comes next. And this is about South Africa. It's not about any particular political party. The only project that's underway here is a project of strengthening our democracy. And that's something that I'd like to be a part of with a range of South Africans.
So how exactly do you intend doing that? How exactly do you, as Change Starts Now, intend to fix what is broken in South Africa's politics?
So firstly, I think we all, because we have the lived reality, some more than others, of what's not working, the solutions are quite obvious. But the first thing we want to do, which is why we've created a movement, is to go around the country and talk to people. The solutions will come from their leadership. Legitimacy will be derived from the people and from civil society. But our intentions are very clear. We need to fix the state so that we can deliver those basic services that people require. It is just unspeakable that this past year, and this is the experience of grandmothers, sitting in the sun waiting for pension payouts. That should not happen. We have such a highly developed private sector in this country that can deliver basic services such as those. Now, the public sector and the private sector should never be confused or conflated. The truth of the matter is we need to reach across the aisle, as it were, so that we can improve the daily lives and lived experiences of South Africa. So we want to fix the state, and we do that by having a government that is not ideologically schizophrenic, that knows what has to be done, that knows how to get it done, and that brings in the best and the brightest people to do it. And so that's our focus. And then secondly, we need to make sure that Parliament holds the executive to account in the manner that the Constitution requires. And so part of that discussion also is for us to talk to people and to say, hey, how do we improve the strength of Parliament in terms of its oversight role? And then three, citizens, we cannot opt out. We need an active citizenry, and we need to be engaged on an ongoing basis. There's a lot at stake here, and we want to work with the people of this country so that we can be the beautiful, functional country that we are.
Mr. Jardine, you speak about schizophrenic policies. So give me an example of one and how you intend to fix it.
Well, we just saw this sideshow in the last few weeks where, on the one hand, the president calls on the business community to form 3 task teams to help with things like logistics, ESCOM, crime, etc. And then the next day, a very senior government minister attacks the private sector. We can't have it both ways. Our philosophy is we have to root the development of our country where we have such extreme levels of wealth and poverty. We have to root our society in social solidarity. That means that those who have need to find a way to reach out and to assist those who do not have. That means in a social solidarity movement, there's no ambiguity. We all know that the state is weak, that the balance sheet of South Africa Inc. is weak, and we need to leverage the skills and the capital, and we need to harness everything that we have, wherever we can find it, on the basis that the sole intention is to improve the lived experience of South Africans every day.
Well, there are those who say that you are the preferred candidate for a private capital in this country to be the face or the president, next president of this country. How do you respond to that? And speaking to what you say should be a solution that includes business in some of the problems that we have in the country. Are you advocating for more privatization in the state?
Well, this notion that there's a project underway. The only project underway is a project to strengthen our democracy. Now, I don't think there is any way that somebody just gets parachuted into a leadership position. Leadership is earned. Leadership is something that you work for very hard through talking to other parties. There's this multi-party charter that have been putting a lot of energy and work into finding a way to coalesce around a common idea for the election next year. So it's really just an attempt to label this initiative. But I think that's a sideshow. Let's talk about where South Africa is and what we need to get out of this situation. And I think we should be talking about those solutions and not distractions. And ultimately, the way to measure what we're doing is going to be through the agenda and the policies that we espouse. And I think from yesterday and going forward, South Africans will see that we are serious about addressing the lived experience of poor South Africans, about fixing basic services, about creating an environment in which businesses can thrive and grow and employ people, most importantly, and restoring South Africa to its rightful place in the international community.
So have you been in consultation with other parties about your place in this whole setup with the multi-party setup going forward?
We have not had a conversation with the multi-party charter as a collective. I have had a conversation with the Democratic Alliance. That was a very general discussion, which was really us saying, we are here, we think the South African political landscape needs to be reshaped. We need to redefine opposition politics in this country. What is it going to take for us to work together to form the next government? And that is not on the basis of simply coalescing around Party A or Party B. We're very clear, we want to talk to the people of this country. We want to come up with a program that says, here's how we're going to get out of the situation we are in terms of basic services, poverty, unemployment, and so on. And then that should be the basis of entering into a coalition or an alliance, not simply an aggregation of political parties and discussing who gets what position afterwards.
Well, starting with basic services, how do you intend on addressing that issue?
Well, I think we know that we need to assemble the best and the brightest in this country. Okay? It is shameful that when you open your tap, recently in Hammanskraal and even elsewhere, that you wonder what is the quality of the water. South Africa once had the most amazing engineering sector, which has slowly eroded through lack of infrastructure spend and investment. I think we currently, in terms of our infrastructure spend to GDP, we're sitting at mid-teens. The National Development Plan of a few years ago said that by 2030, we should invest 30% to GDP in infrastructure and investment. So, and with that comes the creation of jobs. And so we need to think creatively about how we increase that spend. We do know that the balance sheet of our country is in a poor state, which means that we will have to look for capital elsewhere. Now, when the government in 2011 and 12 rolled out the first renewable energy scheme, it was crafted in such a way that SA Inc. could mobilize over 200 billion rand in local capital and foreign investment to invest in these projects. And so what we will bring is a very acute understanding of capital markets, how to mobilize capital elsewhere, and how to capacitate the state, because ultimately the government of the Republic of South Africa is the ultimate custodian and steward of the well-being of the people of South Africa. Right now, through mismanagement, it is not in a position to do so. And so we will have to find solutions in the short to medium term that can change that.
Mr. Jardine, as things stand now, change starts now. Who's funding you?
So I've read, like you have, that there's R1 billion and a war chest, and there's no such thing. Most political parties and entities who embark on political discourse need financing. Party political financing is a global issue. It is discussed in every country. We are now starting to fundraise, and most of these donors, if you can look on these websites that track political party financing, they fund an array of other political parties.
But who's funding you? Who's funding you at the moment?
Well, right now we have initial funders, which we will disclose as part of the IEC process, but we do not have R1 billion. That much I can tell you.
In the interest of, bringing a new energy onto the political landscape, you don't think it would be pertinent for you to just tell us who your funders are right off the bat?
No, because we're still busy setting up our organization. What I can tell you this is that we will be very transparent and we will disclose exactly who's funding us. And I think it's important for democracy that we do that in terms of the IEC Act. So it's early days for us. I can undertake that we will be very transparent. The basis on which we will be raising funding is that if you are a tax-paying entity, a business or an individual in good standing, we will talk to you in terms of funding this initiative.
All right. And then with regard to one of the other sticking points for so many South African voters is, of course, this issue of corruption. And what's your take on that, and how are you going to make a difference in that space?
Yeah, I think it's we need to, first of all, promote a culture of doing things in a transparent and above-board way. Secondly, where corruption does exist, we need to be sure that our prosecuting authorities are on top of it. I think currently, unfortunately, for a range of reasons, of the 9 state capture cases, many of them have been thrown out of court. The NPA says they will be revisiting them. And the sooner we can deal with that so that South Africans can see that we're serious about arresting this, it will act as a deterrent to others who may be so inclined.
How do we take that seriously from you, Mr. Jardine, when during the 2010 World Cup, with the collusion in the building sector for the 2010 World Cup, the company that you were the CEO of was also fingered in that? So why should we trust you?
Well, I want to point out that those tenders were awarded before I became the CEO. I walked into that. I did not set up a commission of inquiry. I went straight to the source of the problem. I think there's a lot of matters for the record on how I dealt with that. It was open. I went to the Competition Commission and I said to them, there's a problem here. We want to work with you to expose and uncover and resolve this. And when I left that company, all of the issues had been comprehensively resolved. One of those cartels, incidentally, started when I was 7 years old. It was a culture of decades of the way of doing business.
Mr. Jardine, we're unfortunately out of time, but we'll definitely invite you back because there'll be a lot to talk about in the lead up to the elections. Roger Jardine, leader of the newly formed Change Starts Now political movement.